Hello and welcome back to the Dugout. This is sort of our European episode where we're going to be sort of reacting to the ties from last week, sort of previewing the ties coming up for this week, the return legs. And then, as a whole, we're going to be speaking about sort of the five clubs' sort of chances in Europe this season and how we think that the Scottish teams will fare going into European competition. Today, I'm joined by my good friend and co-host Ethan Barlow to chat about all things Europe for the Scottish teams. Ethan, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, good. A really good start for the Scottish clubs in Europe last week. Great result for Rangers. Good result for Dundee United. Positive result for Hibs. We spoke before if Hibs could take even a single goal defeat in Denmark, we think that would be a positive result to take back to Easter Road. Obviously, they started very well, got themselves ahead, and then they take away a draw back to Easter Road. But yeah, really positive results across the board. And then we've got obviously Celtic and Aberdeen to come in later on in the playoff round.
Yeah. So a lot of exciting stuff. We'll just start on the Rangers. I think the first game that was played, the first game that will be played coming up. You mentioned there a great result. I think we've kind of we kind of gave our thoughts on the locker room last week. I will be definitely appearing on there tomorrow before the game for the live stream. I think Ethan might be. We're not 100% sure yet, but yeah, we might be on there to speak about it. But yeah, we kind of spoke about how if Rangers could take the win, it would be massive. And I think even after watching the game, the result looks even better because of how Panathinaikos came out in that first half.
Yeah, there wasn't much between the two teams at all, especially in the first half, as you said. Panathinaikos had some really good chances. Vikindel Police should have scored when he hit the post. Um, but Rangers hung in there. They played through the errors the natural errors that are going to be try to play out in the way Russell Martin wants them to play with inverted fullbacks. Max Aaron struggled at points, obviously playing on his unnatural side on the left with James Tavernier on the right. But after Rangers got that goal to settle them in, a brilliant striker, a brilliant moment for Finlay Curtis. They grew into the game. Obviously, the red card for Panathinaikos helps Rangers and gives them that comfort. Then they can really sort of they've got a president to really go and push for that second goal, and they did. Obviously, Gassama, brilliant moment for him off the bench minutes after his Rangers debut, and Rangers are in a really good position now to head over to Athens tomorrow night as we're recording this. And you'd have to be really confident that they'll be able to progress through that. And in the next round, Rangers will fancy their chances as well.
Yeah, definitely. Just on the Panathinaikos, there obviously they will be missing Vadianidis. I'm gonna go with.
Yeah, I think that's right.
He's obviously he's suspended, and on before he got sent off, him and Pelistri on that right hand side, where sort of Panathinaikos' danger side. They will be missing former Cardiff City midfielder Manolis Siopis. These pronunciations, I'm just taking stabs in the dark at these, but they'll be missing him as well, I think, through injury. So missing a couple of players there. Rangers, obviously. I don't think Telo Asgard was in training today. And from the photos, Hamza Igaman wasn't in training either. So they might be missing those two players. However, neither of them were sort of instrumental in Rangers' victory. And I think Rangers go into it strong, and we might see a similar starting 11, maybe with the exception of Kieran Dow dropping out for Diego Gassama if he is fit enough to start.
Yeah, definitely. That's the one that comes to mind, and I think we spoke a lot about that post match on Tuesday that Kieran Dowell was the one that never really came into the game. He had that chance at the back post that he headed over the bar, but he just never really got into a rhythm throughout the game. And if there was going to be one change, barring any injury forced changes that Russell Martin needs to make, that's the one you could see. But you could also, I think, very easily see him stick with the exact same 11 because obviously he's made Kieran Dowell part of that leadership group and he's obviously seen something in training that a lot of the Rangers fans haven't seen for his Rangers career. And yeah, so he's obviously got the backing of the manager at this point, and I'm sure one quiet performance isn't going to change that.
Okay. So we forced it out of Laurie last week for his two-legged predictions because we knew he wouldn't be here this week to give his. But we are here, and for the second leg, Ethan, what are you thinking?
Yeah, it's a tough one to call. I mean, it could go either way, really. The same as the game at Ibrox did. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw, another draw. I backed a draw in the first leg. I'm going to back a draw again, and Rangers will see themselves through pretty comfortably in the end. But I don't think they'll be able to keep a clean sheet against Panathinaikos in Athens.
Okay, I am going to replicate my prediction last week. Um, I was the closest out of everyone to get it right, so I think I will get it right this time. I'm gonna go with 3-0 Rangers. So 5-0 on aggregate as they progress to face either Servette or Victoria Pilsen, was it? No.
Yeah, no, that's that. Yeah, that's right.
All right, okay. Servette.
Uh, Yeah, Servette won the first leg in Czech Republic, I think. But looking at the stats, Victoria Pilsen looked like they dominated, so you wouldn't be surprised if they go over to Switzerland and reverse that. So it could be either team, but Rangers will be favourites regardless, I would think.
Okay. Okay, so moving on to Hibs, we mentioned a really good result in Denmark. Jamie McGrath with the goal. Um, it was it was actually a really nice free kick that undone them at the back in the end. It was quite feisty in there. For a very competitive match, you could see Michelin getting frustrated. Hibs had some opportunities. Martin Boyle with a really good one early on as well. So I think there's definitely a chance that Hibs could take this to Easter Road and get the victory. Um, his name escapes me. I think it might be Sorensen, the Michelin captain, was quoted as saying they will be playing against 20,000 at Easter Road. So they really need to, get their act together, basically. So yeah, that's an added element with the support around them, a good feeling around them. This could be a real massive opportunity for Hibs to progress.
Yeah, one-off games, you just never know what's going to happen. Hibs are a team of quality. They obviously they beat both Celtic and Rangers last season, did they? They did, didn't they?
They did beat Rangers. I don't.
Oh, well, yeah, they beat Celtic as well. Obviously in that infamous Alistair Johnston ball out game and one of the highlights of the terrible VAR use last season. But anyway, Hibs have shown that this Hibs squad can go against Champions League, Europa League level opponents and beat them and turn them over. And they were impressive in multiple games against both Celtic and Rangers last season. They started the game in Denmark very well. Obviously, got the goal with Jamie McGrath in his first competitive start for Hibs, making up for his post Scottish Cup Aberdeen celebrations, possibly. In the second half, Michelin took more of a sort of they took more control in the game, created more chances, and the goal was going to come. And another good, brilliant free kick from Simsier. But a really good result. Hibs would have probably snatched or bit your hand off, sorry for that, before the 90 minutes. Then they go back to Easter Road in front of a packed out go at Easter Road in front of a packed out stadium. Sorry, and they'll be confident. David Gray will be confident. The only thing, as we just mentioned on the before we started recording, is that the FC Michelin won 6-2 last night. So yeah, they seem to be in a wee bit of a scoring flow after that game. So yeah, Hibs will look at that, but Hibs will also look at that and say they've conceded 2 goals. So there's opportunity for Hibs, and they should be really confident because they've got a massive chance to go through to the next round, where they'll play Fredrikstad of Norway, and Hibs would probably be favourites for that tie.
Yeah, it's really for both Rangers and Hibs. It's massive opportunities to maybe get a more difficult tie out of the way and move on to an easier tie on paper. At least you can never count out these teams,
Yeah.
but easier ties on paper and help progress to the that'll be the final round, the playoff round, won't it?
Yeah, that'll be guaranteed football, guaranteed. Well, it'll be guaranteed Europa League for Rangers and guaranteed Conference League for Hibs, which would be brilliant. Because then that would mean, well, yeah, that would mean we would have 4 teams in
Yeah.
the league phase, which is great for Scotland. And I don't know if that's ever happened before for Scottish clubs. So that would be a brilliant achievement and a brilliant sort of fight back to the coefficient avalanche, which we're currently on at the moment.
Yeah, definitely that. That's been sort of a major kind of talking point over the last few weeks about how we might not get the chance to see any Scottish teams in Champions League football for the foreseeable future because of this issue. Um, I'll be honest, I haven't totally read up on it, but Ethan, you seem to be pretty well versed on it. Could you shed some light on it for me and the viewers?
Yeah, so it was a lot of Mr. Scotland's coefficient. His comments are quite worrying for the league on a European front that beyond next season, it's looking like, unless there's a drastic achievement by Scottish clubs in Europe this season, a drastic change, sorry, in the achievement of the clubs in Europe this season, then the winners of the Scottish League will have to play 3 rounds of qualifiers, and that was what happened quite recently. It wasn't too long ago that Celtic were always playing 3 rounds of qualifiers and were pretty unsuccessful most of the time because it's difficult. You see Rangers in the first round or second round, but the first round Rangers are playing in Panathinaikos. It's not an easy team to go up against. And yeah, it shows that it's really difficult to qualify from that stage rather than when you're a seeded team with 1 round to play, or in fact, it was the last few seasons, no rounds to play of qualifying. So yeah, it's a real worrying state, but at the end of the day, it could only maybe you could look at it at the positive point that it's going to bring clubs closer to Celtic and Rangers because they're not getting to that Champions League money, and it's going to be even more difficult to qualify for Europa League. And I believe there will only be 4 teams that can enter Europe instead of 5. So yeah, it's not great, but there is still time to turn it around. But realistically, I think Scotland would need to have at least 4 clubs in the league phase and have most of them progress out of the league phase into the knockout rounds, and that's quite difficult. But hopefully, there's always a chance, and the clubs have shown so far that they can pull off upsets and do what's needed. So hopefully they continue that streak. Hopefully, Celtic and Aberdeen join in on that party, and we have a real good season as a country in Europe.
Yeah, hopefully, because for the last few years, Scotland's coefficient has been held up by a one-man band, or one-team band, I guess you could say. Obviously, last season Celtic did really, really well. However, for the last few years, it's mainly been Rangers competing within the Europa League that have sort of um, held it up. So we really need some extra help as a country, and as well. I can speak from personally. You love to see these other teams, doing well. You know what I mean? It would be great to see like not Hearts this season, but like um, Dundee United or Aberdeen in like a Conference League like playoff round, or even if they progress in the top eight or something, or see Hibs in the Europa League competing, because it's definitely tough. But if Hibs make it into the Europa League phase, 24 is a realistic target for a team like them, and it could really benefit us, and it could be really exciting. But back, we'll go. We went off on a little bit of a tangent there, but back
I
to
was just gonna, sorry, I was gonna say last thing. The only sort of positive I can see is that without Champions League, and I know Celtic have underperformed in all European competitions for quite a while, apart from last season where they obviously done pretty well. But playing in the Europa League would probably be easier for Celtic to generate coefficient, and then naturally we would move back up. But I think what Scotland needs is it needs all the clubs to sort of pull their weight, not just Rangers. They all need to do their bit and really push forward the nation. Because I'll pick out an example. Poland last year, I can't remember the last time Poland even had a team in the Champions League. I imagine it was probably Legia Warsaw a few years ago. But in the Conference League last year, they had two teams in I think the quarterfinals. I want to say I double check that, but two Polish teams in the Conference League quarterfinals. There's no reason why Scottish clubs can't go and do that as well.
yeah, definitely. And I don't. This stat was a while ago, so but I think th- this really speaks to how much Rangers were adding to Scotland's coefficient. I think I remember reading it was a good while ago now, but at that time, no one had won more. Only these three teams had won more coefficient points for their country than Rangers, and it was PSG, Bayern Munich, and Manchester City.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that really, and you people might think because I'm a Rangers supporter, this is me going, oh look at us, blah blah blah. But it's just like the fact of it that this, they've sort of been relying on one team to prop them up, get them into these qualifiers and stuff like that, and they've not been doing the business, with the exception of Celtic last season. No one's succeeded. Really, Hearts awful, awful display last season. But yeah, anyway, we'll go back to Hibs because we kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent there. But yeah, tough tie for them. However, I think they will make it through. I'm going to go with a repeat of the result on Thursday, and I'm going to go with Hibs to win on penalties.
that would be brilliant. Any any by any means necessary if Hibs get through, it would be a massive step for Scottish football, and it'll be a memorable result for the Highbees. I'll go with 2-1 Hibs to win on the night. But anyway, if they can get through, then it would be brilliant and a real good start to the season for Scottish clubs in Europe.
Okay, so moving on to the third and final tie we've got coming up this week. Dundee United go to Luxembourg to face FC Unerstrassen. They obviously won 1-0. Brand new signing, Zachary Sapsford, with a nice strike to give them the win on the night. Um, I didn't fully watch the game, but I watched bits and bobs, and it looked like a lot of Dundee United pressure. They just couldn't sort of, put the nail in the coffin, so to speak. So you know, they really should. This is on paper. This is the easiest of the three ties for the Scottish teams, and they really should go to Luxembourg and fairly comfortably and progress to the next round.
Yeah, definitely. But I think we spoke about more comfortable score lines at Tannadice, so the fact that it is only one goal will give them a little bit of nerves going over there. That it is a potential banana skin because we've seen teams in the past go away from home. All the Scottish teams go away from home and lose to teams they should never be losing to. And yeah, but I think Dundee United should have enough. I think they should be okay. They showed enough. They had enough of control of the game, and Dundee, and yeah, hopefully they can just go over there and and kick on and give themselves confidence going into the next round, which will be a step up and opponent on level on paper. You would imagine.
or Rapid Vienna.
Yeah, so pretty Rapid Vienna's the name that obviously stands out, because they are a team that's known across Europe, although they're not always kind of the top. Well, they've not been at the top of the Austrian football for a while, but they're still kind of the second tier, third, fourth, fifth place. But that's what we need to be. We need to be striving for that as a country, that our third, fourth, and fifth place teams are teams that are sort of, you see in a European draw and you go, oh, I didn't want them, um, because there's no reason why we can't do that.
Yeah.
An interesting stat that I just want to mention. I don't know if you've seen any of this, but it was to do with Dundee United's starting 11. Um, this is from Andy at DUFC Stats on X. United named no Scots in the starting 11 for the first time ever in a competitive game. There are no British players by football nationality, Strain and Ferry born in England. Only once has a Scottish side started no Brits in their 11, Rangers away at Aberdeen in July 2001. So,
Wow,
yeah,
that's interesting stat. A lot of players, new players, needing to get used to the culture. A lot of different nations needing to blend it, and that may be an issue. And you mentioned there, uh, you mentioned earlier about Dundee United taking the 1-0 win over, only winning by one goal might give them a little bit of nerves. It'd also give the Strassen players confidence, I'd say. The fact
yeah,
that they did get away with only a one goal defeat and they can bring it back to their own patch and make it difficult for them and try and take it through to the next round, where it does look like they'll whoever wins will be facing Rapid Vienna, as they took a 2-0 win back from Montenegro. So yeah, but I'm gonna stick with my guns. I'm gonna back the Scottish team again. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 1-0 to Dundee United. Less ambitious than I was last week. So
the
yeah,
confidence is slipping.
I'm gonna go 1-0 to Dundee United, and they'll progress to the next round to face Rapid Vienna.
Fair enough. I'll go with 2-0 Dundee United, and yeah, they'll progress through and it'll be a step up, but you never know, and hopefully they can take confidence, and with their weird arrangement of nationalities in their squad, so many different players from different nations. We've seen it with the players they've brought in. It's a really interesting dynamic, but it's one that's going to be we're going to keep a keen eye on to see how it develops this season.
Yeah, definitely. Right now, um, focusing on the five sides. Obviously, Aberdeen and Celtic have guaranteed group, league phase football. Still getting used to that. The other three teams need to progress quite well. So we we've backed the three teams to make it through this round. So we'll go team to team and see where you think they'll end up. So I'm gonna go. We'll start with Rangers. I think they'll progress through this round. I think they will progress through the next round, and they might fall at the final hurdle and drop into the Europa League.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think I've seen some of the teams that Rangers could play in that playoff game, and because they're playing against other clubs that are not champions, it's really sort of top teams. You're talking your Club Bruges, your Benfica's sort of season Champions League teams, and Rangers have shown in the past, the PSV game, obviously, the one that comes to mind, that they can do it against these clubs. But
And then they
yeah, I
got
think it might.
battered away from home.
Yeah, well, but no, yeah, but they beat PSV, did they not, and to get into the
Well,
Champions
they
League
did.
the last time?
They did that year, yeah, and then they played
Yeah.
them again the following year, and they got absolutely. scudded. So
Yeah, I do remember that. But yeah, Rangers have shown, but it is very early in Russell Martin's tenure, so I don't think there should be too much expectation put on it and him because it is pretty difficult 3 rounds of qualifiers when you're playing against top clubs from top nations. So yeah, I think Europa League's a good place for Rangers to aim for this season.
okay, Hibs, I think they will progress through this round, progress through the next round, and I'm gonna back them to make Europa League.
All the way,
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I don't know. I'm gonna go. I think it's a long way to go. There's a lot of football to be played, so I'll bet on them sneaking into the Conference League. That would be a remarkable achievement. But obviously, if they can make it through this, as we said, they've got a good opponent next round. And then you don't know who they're going to get in the last round, but you would imagine it'll be their toughest opponent yet. Although FC Midtjylland's a pretty difficult opponent to get in Europa League qualifying. So yeah, we'll see.
Okay, Aberdeen. Um, you know what? I'm just gonna go. Oh no, we forgot about Dundee United. Sorry, I think Dundee United will lose to Rapid Vienna in the next round.
Good enough. Um, I I would tend to go the same. I think there is having confidence and hope in our teams, but yeah, I think that might just be a step too far for Dundee United. You look at the squad turnover and stuff like that, and Rapid Vienna are just a tier above Dundee United, I would say. So yeah, and there's no shame in going out there if they put up a good fight as well.
Okay, Aberdeen. I'm gonna back the Dons to join Rangers and Hibs in the Europa League.
Let me actually see. I think I'm going to try and see who Aberdeen might play against.
Potential opponents.
Yeah, right. Okay, so the unseeded, the current teams in that playoff are the unseeded teams are Aberdeen, Sigma Aluminium, and Samsunspor. So they can't play either of those two teams, but they could play PAOK, obviously, of Greece, Young Boys of Switzerland, and possibly Genk of Belgium. So pretty good teams in there. So yeah, I'm actually going to go for Aberdeen to drop into the Conference League. I think. Yeah,
Okay, and finally Celtic. Um, See if they don't get their act together in the transfer window. I could see them dropping into the Europa League, but right now I'm going to stay positive and say Celtic will make it to Champions League league phase football. But I think they need to bring a couple of people in before that game. I know maybe they were waiting on the money, but I think it's a risky gamble to take.
yeah, definitely. I agree with you. I think Celtic, the board shouldn't be gambling. It's £40 million, and to weigh it up from looking at a Scottish coefficient point of view, I think Celtic would probably do better for the coefficient if they were in the actual Europa League. Because like Rangers have shown in the past, if Celtic get their act together in Europe like they did seem to do last season, then maybe they, like Rangers, can have a real go at it and be it teams against teams at a similar level. But I do think the league phase offers a lot better potential for Scottish clubs in the Champions League than the group stage did, because the group stage, although Celtic probably underperformed for the last few seasons they've been in it, it is quite difficult to get out, whereas the league phase offers you much more of a chance. And I'm looking at some of the teams that Celtic could play just now. It's saying the two teams that are confirmed that they could play against is Basel and Sturm Graz, and then another six teams. So you don't really know yet, but Celtic would be favourites based off their Champions League season last season. But there's no doubt that the squad is in a slightly weaker position just now, or you could even say a decently weaker situation with both Shota out injured and obviously Nicholas Kuhn's moved on.
I forgot about Jota. He's out for a good while, eh?
Yeah, turn of the year, so I don't think he'll be playing any league phase football anyway.
No, no. Okay, that is that. We'll wrap it up there for our sort of European overview of the Scottish teams. Thank you to everyone for watching and listening. Go check out the Twitter at the Dugout 2024. Make sure to check out our series that's been rolling out, the Dugout, all 12 teams. Today was Livingston.
Yeah,
Livingston
that's it. Yeah,
with Angus.
yeah,
So go check that out. Ethan spoke to him about Livingston's season. We are doing every single club. Go check out the TikTok, just at the Dugout, where I've been delivering daily Scottish football news. Thank you and goodbye.